So first, what do you wish you had known in high school in regards to a career in communication sciences and disorders?
When I was in high school, I had absolutely no idea what I wanted my future to look like. I knew that I wanted to go to college and further my education, but I had no idea what I wanted to study. I had a vague interest in the medical field, but there were still so many majors to choose from, it was so overwhelming. I started my freshman year at WVU in biochemistry, and by the end of the first year, I knew I needed to make a change because it was not the right fit. I spent days researching my different options, and I eventually landed on the Communication Sciences and Disorders webpage at WVU. To be completely honest with you, I had never heard of CSAD. So I guess the one thing I wish I knew whenever I was in your shoes is just that it was an option for me. Once I started doing more research, I realized that there are so many diverse paths that CSAD can take you down. Not only do you get to choose between speech pathology and audiology, but there are also so many different settings that you could choose to work in.
When I was in high school, I wish I knew about different paths I could take that go along with speech pathologists, such as feeding and swallowing, working with cleft palates, and things like that, other than just working in a school-based setting.
So in high school, I definitely wish that I had known about the wide variation of clientele for speech-language pathologists. At first, I had really thought that a career in CSAD was only working with kids in the school system that had speech errors or working in a hospital with stroke patients. And after, I don't know how many job shadows, countless observation hours, and 6 semesters here in the program, I know that is without a doubt not the case. We can help treat clients through gender-affirming voice therapy, augmentative and alternative communication devices. We help with memory and cognition for those with aphasia and all ages. We help with feeding and swallowing for all ages as well. We can do research, create curriculum, and so much more. And I find it so incredibly exciting to know that I can help change lives in so many different facets.
One thing I wish I would have known in high school about this program is how vast the job opportunities are. I mean, you could work in a clinic, a school, a hospital, and even between there, the specialties you could fall into are abundant. So I feel like that's something really important to note about our program.
Hi, my name is McKenna, and I'm a Communication Sciences and Disorders major. Something that I wish that I knew back in high school before I joined the major would be that it's not just for speech pathologists. You can be an audiologist, you can be a speech pathologist assistant. There's a couple different options within the major. I also wish that I knew that there's so many different work environments for a speech pathologist. You could work in a school, a hospital, a nursing home, home health, private practice. There's a lot of different things, so you're not just stuck to one thing. I always thought it was just speech pathologists in schools.
So, question number 2. What career did you choose, whether that be audiology or speech-language pathology, and why?
When I first started in the Communication Sciences and Disorders major, I was sure that I wanted to pursue speech pathology. I loved working with kids, so I thought that a position in the schools would be perfect for me. Let's just say that my mind changed once I got more exposure to the audiology content. For the first time in my life, I was reading textbooks and actually feeling connected to the content. I was looking up research studies outside of class. I was going home and telling my roommate what I learned that day because I found it so interesting. I don't know how to explain it, but something about audiology just clicked with me. Ultimately, I chose audiology because I want to help people stay connected. We all know someone with a hearing loss, and most of us have witnessed just how detrimental that can be to one's ability to communicate. I chose audiology because I want to help end the negative stigma surrounding hearing loss.
The path I chose is speech-language pathology. The reason I chose this is because I want to become a pediatric feeding and swallowing therapist and help give kids a voice because it's so important now more than ever.
So of the two, I chose speech-language pathology. That just seemed to be a little bit more up my alley. I was definitely drawn to it more. It seems a little bit more hands-on. I have friends that do both, but personally, speech-language pathology was just more for me. And overall, as far as CSAD, I chose this major for a multitude of reasons. I love working with children, but frankly, I do not have the patience to work with 30 screaming children at once. Teacher's good for you, but that is just not something I can handle. I prefer definitely more of a one-on-one approach, and overall, I love the diagnostic portion of the field. I am definitely someone who is extremely analytical, so being able to put together all the pieces of the puzzle that make up a patient, to come up with a proper diagnosis and personalized treatment plans to help them reach their goals and watch them progress over time is just so incredibly rewarding. So that is part of the reason why I chose the major.
I chose speech pathology as my route because when I was a senior in high school, my youngest brother, who was 5 at the time, didn't talk at all, and my parents would have me take him to his speech sessions sometimes at this clinic. And by the time it was all said and done, he hasn't stopped talking since. So I was just amazed by the growth that they were able to produce in him, from not talking at all to talking all the time. It was insane to me. So that's how I knew I wanted to be a part of that field. And
I chose speech pathology, and that was originally because I knew that I like to talk and I wanted to help people be able to communicate as fluently and confidently as possible. But once I learned more about the major, I started to realize that being a speech pathologist, you get to work in so many diverse work environments, and you get to work with such a diverse group of people. There's so many different things that intrigue me, and I look forward to hopefully getting to work on. I could work with elderly, I could work with children. It's nice that I don't just have to pick a major, pick a job, and be stuck with that for the rest of my life. I can switch around, find things that interest me.
And finally, why did you choose West Virginia University?
Like most people who grew up in West Virginia, I was raised as a Mountaineer fan. When I got to high school and I was considering my college options, of course, West Virginia University was on my list. I toured WVU and I really liked the campus and the atmosphere in Morgantown, but I wasn't completely sold on it yet. What really moved WVU to the top of my list was its research ranking. WVU is the only university in West Virginia classified as an R1 research institution. At R1 universities, there are so many opportunities to get involved in innovative research that might just change the world someday.
I chose WVU to be close to home and all the resources that it had around them, such as a feeding and swallowing clinic that is less than 10 minutes away from Evansdale campus, Ruby Hospital that is on health sciences, and how welcoming the staff was on my first day of class.
So I chose WVU because this was the only campus that truly felt like home to me. I had toured 2 or 3 other campuses before I had come to tour WVU. Some were larger and some were smaller, but something just didn't feel quite right about those. And on my first tour of the campus, I was definitely a little nervous seeing just how large the campus was, seeing it spread out over 3 areas. I was definitely a bit overwhelmed, but my tour guide had told me, she was like, please do not be overwhelmed by the size of the student population. I know it seems large, but I can promise you that WVU will make you feel like you are so much more than a number. And I thought, there's no way, there's 30,000 students here, there's no way that's possible. But after 6 semesters here at WVU, I genuinely could not agree more. The professors and the faculty all do their absolute best to make sure that you get what you need as much as they can. After being on my second tour of campus, I looked around and I knew that without a doubt I would call this place home for the next 4 years, hopefully 6 with grad school.
And lastly, I chose WVU because I wanted to go to a bigger school that could still feel small to me. And to me, that's exactly what WVU is. It's this big school, but there's tons of people that want to see you succeed, whether if it's, professors, other students in your program, other resources, clubs. There's just so many people that are willing to help you, and that's what I love about my school.
I'm from West Virginia, so naturally going to WVU always seemed very appealing to me. And when I was in high school, I heard lots of good things about the program from girls from my hometown that chose speech pathology, communication sciences, and disorders. And now, after joining the major, I am so glad that I did choose to go to WVU because the professors here really care about us. They really want to make sure that our learning is good and we're prepared for grad school. And I've met so many great people within the major, and I feel very prepared, and I'm very glad I chose WVU.